All right. I want to make sure that you know exactly what you're going to get out of this. Before we even get into that, I want to make sure you understand exactly what this webinar and training is not. It's not for you if you need a job or income yesterday. If you need that right now, this is not going to help you. This is much more long-term and helping you understand for the rest of your entire life what work that fits you actually is. It's also not for you if you just want to get a better job. If that's your only goal and you just want to get a better job than what you have right now, it's probably not your thing. And, oh well. And it's also not for you if you're looking for a step-by-step guide to getting a job or starting a business. That's not what we're focused on right now. We do that, but that's really not what tonight is all about. Instead, it is for you if you want to figure out what type of work will actually make you happy and you'll actually enjoy it. And it's also for you if you find that you're good at a lot of different things and you're just trying to figure out what it is that you should really be doing. You've got so many choices that it's really hard to pare it down. And maybe you can't think of any just one passion that you'd want to pursue for work for the rest of your life. And if that's you, this is definitely for you. You're really going to enjoy this. Or maybe you're like me and you fell into jobs over the years and you've wondered, is this all there is? Geez, I hope it can't be. Or maybe you've tried to figure out what type of job or business you would be happy at. Maybe you've tried a whole bunch of different stuff, from looking online to listening to podcasts, whatever it happens to be, and you're finding that it's just overwhelming. You're just not sure where to begin. If any of those things fall into your realm, I think you're really going to enjoy tonight's training. Now, I want to make a promise to you today. When you leave here, you're going to understand the most important steps of how to identify work that fits you and what you truly love. It works differently than you think. I'm going to show you exactly what I do with my coaching clients, the exact same system that took me over 7 years to really figure out, and exactly what you don't realize is stopping you from figuring out what you want to. And this is what is keeping you in your work that doesn't feel fulfilled, that doesn't line up with what we call your signature strengths. And ultimately, it isn't making you happy. And just like I said before, it happens differently than you think it does. Now, before we get into that, I want to tell you I am not above bribery here. I want you to stay for the whole thing. What I have, I think you're really, really going to enjoy. And I have a gift for you when you stay through the whole entire thing. So stay to the end of the workshop and we have that free gift for you. I'll tell you more, tell you what it is, and I think you're going to love that too. So let's first talk about why you're here. Why are you here in the first place? Why are you at this training? Why are you at this webinar? Why are you sitting in front of listening to me in the first place? And I bet you probably feel like you understand what are some of the most important things in your life. And maybe it's your family, or maybe it's your significant other, maybe it's time with people, those who are important around you. Whatever that is, I also would be willing to bet. I'm not normally a betting person, but I would place a bit of money on it that you also probably aren't focusing your time in those areas that actually reflect your priorities. So I want to know why you're actually here. And even go ahead and type it in. Like go ahead and chat in the chat, just type it over in on the right-hand side there. And I also want to show you why a few other people are here. I pulled these from emails in the last few days that I got. Wesley signed up for this because he does not want to spend the majority of his life doing work that he hates, or work that just doesn't have meaning or purpose to him. Maybe it's great work, but great work for somebody else. Wesley, I don't want you spending your time in stuff that doesn't have a meaning and purpose to you as well. I want you to be able to get there. Or maybe you're like Nicole and you're in a position that just doesn't really fit who you are as a person and what you actually value. And I've been there, absolutely been there. And in her case, she's looking to find a job and change to what actually does. And I think this is incredibly important. So I probably got several hundred emails over the last few days that are really similar to these sorts of things. So here's what I want you to do. if you're overwhelmed from all the options out there, you're really struggling to figure this out, I want you to do yourself a favor. I want you to turn off your cell phone. I want you to minimize the distractions. I've got little kids in my house, and Alyssa's on here. She's on moderating. She's helping out. You'll see her in there. Say hi to her if you haven't already. But we went ahead and got a babysitter. If you don't have a babysitter, that's okay. Just get up, let everybody else know that you're going to be tied up for the next about 90 minutes or so, and set those expectations. One of the things that we teach very firmly is to be intentional with your time. I want you to be intentional with your time right now. It starts right now. Okay, so if it's important to you to learn the path to doing work that you actually love, then I want you to start acting like it right now. And I will absolutely make you the deal that if you give me your time, then I'll show you exactly what we've talked about and what I've promised here. So I want to tell you what has led me down this road, though, in the first place. In 2005, I accepted a job that I fell into. I really thought it was going to be a great job, and unfortunately, it wasn't a great job to me. But it was available, and everybody was telling me that this was going to be an awesome, amazing opportunity, and it paid pretty well, and all that sorts of thing. And I moved to Portland to take this job, packed up. Alyssa and I went down there, and ended up just spending every single day for over that first year that I was in there, discovering that I really didn't like my job at all. And I was questioning every single day as I was driving to work. I was questioning, is this all there is? I can't believe that this is what you do for life. And for a solid 12 months, I convinced myself that it was like, this is what you had to do. I didn't know you could do it any differently. And that was a huge problem for me. I didn't know that there was any other options out there. So instead of doing anything about it, I guilted myself into, feeling grateful for this job. And, finally, after about a year of this, 12 months of this, after I just realizing that I just despised this and the situation, and I felt like I had to do something about it, I finally got the nerve to go and talk to my boss about it. And I wanted to be completely upfront with him. I told him I was worried I made the wrong choice about taking this job. And I guess he felt like he made the wrong choice too, because 3 weeks later, he ended up firing me. Now, this was a bit of a surprise, as you might imagine to me. That's not what I expected to happen, but it was one of the best things that ever happened because, well, quite frankly, I could still be there. I've got a friend that still is there, in fact, and know several other people that are there too. They could be doing so much more, quite frankly, with their strengths. And for me, that was just phenomenal. It helped a ton because I don't know that I would have done that on my own, unfortunately. So I started taking everything that I had learned up to that point and really trying to apply this to make a bunch of different career changes. And at first, it was really just because I was forced to. I had to. We had a mortgage, and later on, I realized that I was getting results really, really easily because I was approaching it completely differently than anybody else. And a bunch of times I got multiple job offers and massive salary increases when I would negotiate at every new job. And the problem was, years later, I had several different dream jobs. I'd gone in and out of several different dream jobs, and I was really still looking for what it was that made sense for me and what it was that really fit me. And I kept feeling like I was closer and closer. Each time I'd go into a new job, I was excited about it. I was ecstatic. And then I started realizing that, I still wasn't fulfilled and I still wasn't happy. And this was really frustrating because, Alyssa and I, we felt like we were doing a whole bunch of things right, and we still could not figure this out. It was ultra frustrating. And I finally started realizing so few people are actually focused on doing work that fits them. We go about it completely the opposite way. Instead, we go about thinking, hey, what's the best opportunity that I can get for myself? Not about what is work that actually fits me, and then going and doing that. So I started working to look at this completely backwards. And, that's what we set about to do. And that's when it became blatantly clear to me that what I needed to be doing was helping other people with their careers. This is something that I had done phenomenally. And I even really, over the course of time, developed this process to myself. I was helping friends and other people make big sweeping career changes and even start businesses like I had in the past. And as I started helping people with their career changes, almost immediately, people started showing up on the HTYC doorstep saying things like, well, I already know what my strengths and weaknesses are. I just can't seem to find my passion. I can't find it, and I started getting lots of comments like that. Or like, hey, if I could only find the right job that fits me, then I would be happy. Or what I really want is I really want to find something that's much more flexible, or one that pays me more, or one that I'm really passionate about. And I realized that as I started talking to these people, interacting with them, emailing them, that they were going about it backwards. They were going about it the same way that I used to, or I was a long time ago. And I didn't want people to go about it backwards anymore. And I had gone so far as to develop this process for myself to determine exactly what it was that I wanted. So what if you looked at it the other way? What if you figured out exactly what fit you, and then you went and did exactly that? Now, I'm not talking about an occupation here. I'm not even talking about a job title or a business idea. I'm talking about how we spend our time. It's something that we really don't look at it from that standpoint. It's not how we do things in our society. And in fact, like I said before, most people are thinking about it completely backwards. Like right here, this person was looking, they were working in the kitchen and saying, hey, how do I get something that's better than where I'm at? And that's great. That's admirable that you're looking for something that's better than where you're at. But that is not what is going to take you to work that you're actually happy with. And that is part of the problem that people are experiencing. They're looking at this and looking at that and saying, well, that looks a little bit better. And you know what? That is going to continue to leave you in this space where you feel unfulfilled and where you feel like you're not doing work that actually is meaningful to you. So, most of us are thinking about it backwards. And, I want to instead look at what's the difference between someone who gets to wake up every morning and spend their time doing things they enjoy and you. Okay, so let's look at this. Somebody who gets to do work that they love. They clearly understand their signature strengths. And this is not a term that we made up, but we did make up a definition for you. I'll tell you about it here in just a little bit. They know exactly what they want in their life. So those signature strengths, those are the things that they're truly great at. They're the things that they truly enjoy. Not to be confused with passions, but certainly can be passionate about as well. Okay, so they've got a lot of clarity in these two areas. That is something that is a must. And then there's you. Well, and I'm not beating up on you because I've been there too. Not beating up on you at all. But if you're not really sure exactly what you want or how you're going to spend your time, that's a problem. That's a major difference between somebody who gets to do work that they love. Because guess what? The person who is doing work that they love, when they know and have clarity around those two areas, their signature strengths and what they want in their life, they get to do what they want, which isn't exactly rocket science. It's kind of something you may have heard me say before. If you followed happened to your career for very long, when you know what you want and you ask for what you want, then very often you get what you want. Not really rocket science. It's something that just about anybody can follow, right? Well, it works the same way here. If you know what you want, then it's a lot easier to get what you want versus you and where you're at right now. And again, I've been there. You are often thinking about it from choosing only from the options that are available to you and what you know about. And this creates what I call the exposure problem. And let me give an example of what the exposure problem actually is. Let's take gravity as an example. If you don't understand how the science of gravity really works, then you're going to use your frame of reference that you do have, right? You're going to look around and you're going to see that everything that everything that's within a visible area is forced toward the ground. And now if that's all you've ever seen in your life, then you might conclude that absolutely everything has a downward force towards the earth. but that's simply not true. It's not. It's not. If you think it is, but then you need to go get an education on how this stuff works. Or I can, we'll stay later for extra credit or something along those lines. But it's not true, because when you get outside the earth, you realize that there is no strong downward force anymore. It's simply not there. And that's when having a much larger perspective actually helps you realize how this stuff really works. And it's two totally different perspectives. And one, if you're looking at that broader perspective, obviously, it doesn't always apply. And it applies more likely in a different way than what you think before, based on just what you can see. And that's what I mean when I say exposure. If you're just looking at what you are exposed to, that's going to be a problem for you. Doing work that makes you happy functions in exactly the same way. You have to understand the bigger picture to really make it work for you. And this is it's something that if you don't do and you don't understand that bigger picture, you're going to keep operating from the only frame of reference that you have and the only frame of reference that you understand. So I want to get into this process, and this is what I'm going to share with you tonight. And this is what I've done with our coaching clients, with our members and students of our courses. And this is what we began teaching a couple of years ago at this point. So we taught it to people like Maggie. And Maggie's a great example. She's a full-time working mom who was just completely over her job in advertising and communications, and really she just had no idea what it was that she should be doing. The only thing she knew was that, hey, this is not what I want to spend my time in. This is the polar opposite, in fact, and I'm just completely over it. So we took her through our processes and taught her how to figure out what would actually fit her and how she wanted to spend her time. Now, it was absolutely incredible. As we started doing that, we realized that the way that she was spending her time and the things that she really gravitated towards were things like teaching, and things like training, and things like being able to show people how stuff really works and interact with people in that particular way. So all we did, and this is what she says, is that we just gave her the framework and support to figure out what it was that she actually wanted, and then just take the steps towards that. And that's it. And she made this really amazing transition into training and development. It was very, very, very cool. So Jody Mayberry, you might have heard me talk about, if you followed H2IC for a while, I love Jody's story. Absolutely love it. Because Jody was working in finance for quite a while before I met him. And even before that, he's a park ranger. He's done a lot of different things. But working in finance, his company ended up pushing him into a third-party contract. And voila, through life events, found himself with his own business a little bit later. And when I met Jody, he was just absolutely taking anything that anybody would pay him for. Not a good position to be in. Not a good position at all. And when Jody got very, very clear on what it was that he wanted and what it was that he was great at, then boom, 6 months later, he was able to make a career change into storytelling and things like copywriting and podcast services. He now is doing podcasts. He's helping large names, probably people that you would have heard of, for publishers and famous people and executives and things like that. He's helping create them podcasts. Very, very cool. But these are some of the things that Jody's very, very good at. And as soon as he stopped ignoring those pieces, was able to make that transition. Okay. So what about Kirby? Kirby had really become pretty lost in her job, and she was still there because she was pretty good at the things that she did, those tasks that she did, but she really just didn't enjoy it that much. And she really had no idea what else she would do. And, I absolutely love this clip. You might have heard of it if you've listened to the H2IC podcast, but I love it because I want to let her tell you exactly what this was.
I already felt like it was kind of like a dead end job. I was not happy where I was going. I wasn't growing in the position that I wanted to be in. So I was just not happy.
Kirby was in a job that really didn't match her strengths at all, and she was spinning her wheels just a bit.
Freaking out, probably. Just looking at job boards, crying, and Just, it was a mess. It was, I mean, a very rough time.
That was before. And then afterwards, she ended up being able to figure out exactly what it was that she really not just was great at, but also really truly enjoyed. And this was an amazing transformation for her. Kirby's biggest problem was that she's good at a lot of things, not just one thing. So it was hard to know what she should be doing.
It's hard to find something that fits. Like, that's why so many people change careers. It's like you test drive everything until you finally find something.
Okay, but even though she has an amazing story, I want to throw one thing your direction though, because I can, just like Kirby, just like Jody, just like any of the other people that we've talked about so far. I could help you. I could spend I think of an example like Kevin, where I spent an hour with him, one day, and he was able to get multiple job offers. I can do all that. I can tell you most of what you need to know in like 90 minutes, at least some of the most important things. That is, if you're going to want to change jobs or start a business, the real problem is not that. The real problem is not that. Instead, why would you actually take the time or make the effort to change jobs or start your own thing if you don't know what's going to fit? And I know that a bunch of you are saying, geez, I would just be happy if I could get out of this job. And you're right. You might absolutely be happy for a short period of time before the honeymoon period wears off and whatever else. But I want you to be like Kirby, for like what we talked about earlier. I want you to understand what your strengths are and get paid for the things that you're the best at and also really enjoy.
I'm hired to do what I am good at, which is reining people in and making sure we don't lose our focus. You don't want to waste your time at a job that you don't want to do, or why would you waste your time being unhappy?
Here's the process that we teach you to be able to do that. Okay. Some of you might have heard this before, but it's incredibly important. So I want to share this with you very briefly. And for those of you that haven't heard it, this might help some of it be put into perspective for you. Now, you may have heard of our puzzle method, and I absolutely love this because if you've ever put together a puzzle, you know that there's an easy way to do it and many, many really difficult ways to do it. And my son Grayson, when he was first learning to put together puzzles, he was just grabbing at all these random pieces. He was just trying to like jam them together, cram them together, and guess what? They weren't fitting. So I sat down with him and I showed him and said, okay, look, here's how you do this sort of thing. It's first I watched him for a little while and then couldn't believe he was struggling with it so bad. And it's like, oh, because he doesn't know the efficient way to be able to put it together. So we started with those corner pieces, and I showed him that, hey, all you have to do is take those pieces that have the corners on them, identify those, and there aren't too many of them, pull them out, right? And then you go to those edge pieces. You gather together all the edge pieces, and you can start to see once you've got those things out there that there's different colors on them, and you can pretty easily assemble them into a frame. Now, when you've got that frame, that's when it starts to get rather amazing, because even if you can't see that, what the middle picture is, you can start to fill in the picture. You can kind of see, like we were putting together a Disney puzzle the first time that this happened. And I could kind of see that, hey, there's Donald Duck over here. I can see his Donald Duck's foot, and I can see Mickey Mouse's ear over here on the other side. And you can kind of start to figure out what the picture actually looks like once you complete that frame. But if you've got no frame, oh man, all you're doing is you're just jamming those pieces together, right? That's what most people are doing. That's how most people are approaching their careers. You're taking 2 random pieces or 3 random pieces, and you're just trying to jam these things together, cram them together, and put the puzzle together from the inside out. And I mean, you can try and do this. Like Grayson was trying to do this, and I sat there and watched him, and he wasn't getting anywhere fast. I don't think he got any pieces put together. It's incredibly difficult. So if you want to continue to go about it this way, go to town. However, there's a much, much, much better way to do it. And I want you to use that efficient way to put together the puzzle. You know it's easier. You've seen it happen. Everybody's experienced that. I want you to do the exact same thing with your career. So we look at it from the perspective of these corner pieces are your strengths. They don't move that much. They're sort of the foundation, especially what we call your signature strengths. Your signature strengths are those things that you are better at than almost anyone else when you develop these over time. They're made up of your experiences, your knowledge, your predispositions. All of these different pieces go into it. And they're also, in combination, the things that you really enjoy doing. You can't help but enjoy it. And your edge pieces. Your edge pieces are what you want in your life. And these are the definition around what you actually want in your life. And we'll cover that a little bit more. But then once you have those two things, you can really start to fill in the picture. This is what we call decision profile. And only when you have that decision profile does it really make sense for you to then start job searching or start your business, whichever route you're going to go, or the combination of the two. Because then it makes sense to where you can actually go after something that you know you're going to enjoy, at least have a much, much, much higher likelihood. Okay. So that decision profile that we talked about, the strengths and what you want in your life, that creates the most important pieces of your life to you. But if you're not clear on your strengths and you're not clear on what you want in your life, then these other things don't happen. Those most important pieces to you don't happen. You don't get to do work that makes you truly happy, at least not for any length of time. And you end up confusing that and you have a nifty honeymoon period and then realize everything goes back to where you were before. And you don't get to have that life that you enjoy too, because those relate together. You can't separate them out. Good luck trying. And well, singing unicorns and rainbows every day, I guess that may actually not happen if you have the decision profile. But the other stuff, especially that stuff that you want in your life, it becomes very, very possible when you actually are able to understand what they are. And a great example of this, let me give you a great example, particularly on the strength side. Rushi, when he first attended a training, just like this one, just like the one you're at now, well, we were teaching on some different stuff, but close. It was online, just like this time. And, that's how we met. This was our first contact with each other, and he was really struggling to figure out what his passion was, and he spent forever trying to figure out what he was passionate about. We exchanged a couple of emails. Actually, we ended up getting on the phone at one point, and before we started going through our process, and he just was very much struggling and was very discontent in this regard too, trying to figure out what it was that he should be doing and what he was passionate about. And it was very, very elusive for him. And as we really started getting into his strengths, we started really evaluating what are those things that you can't help but do anyways? And what are those things that cause you to lose track of time? And what really actually just comes easy to you, and you just think, yeah, it's not that big of a deal. But for everybody else on the planet, it actually is, and you just don't know it. You just don't realize that you undervalue it a lot of the time. And this is what was going on with Rushi too. He was, as we started to peel back some of the layers for him, we realized that when he walks into a room, he can't help but notice how things are in order or out of order. And, to the point where I spoke with him one day, and he was in a hotel, and he said that, hey, before I could actually get into the hotel and really start doing some work that he's a consultant. He had to fix the lamp table and everything like that. So some people might just write this off as obsessive compulsive. But as we looked a little bit further, we started to realize that this idea of being able to put things into order, it wasn't obsessive compulsive. What it was layered through everything that he does. when he was doing consulting and interacting with a team of his clients, the very, very first thing that he would do, he couldn't help but do it. He would attempt to organize the problem into order. And he would, the way that he would go through different projects is he would do the exact same thing. Okay, here's the odd thing is it made him very, very, very efficient in doing this type of extremely collaborative work. Oh, guess what else is weird? He was very, very, very good at collaborating in that particular way. It made him a great project manager. It made him a great in a bunch of other different areas too. And again, this is just one particular strength of his, just one. But we realize that everything that he does, almost everything that he does and interacts with, he has to put together in some kind of order. Now, for years, he'd looked at this and kind of trivialized it and kind of thought it was a joke, and it's something that his family kind of gave him a bad time about, and it was something that he couldn't stop doing, and it sort of accepted as like this weak side of his personality. I like to recall that thing right there, what causes even the perceived negatives of that particular strength, because it was a strength. But what he was paying attention to was the anti-strength side of that, those weak side of that area, and disregarding the actual strength itself. So now he understands that, and he looks at it completely differently. And let me give you another example of this too. Jody. We just talked about Jody, a little bit. Remember Jody? He's the guy who now gets paid for storytelling, and this is the type of guy, and I love his story so much because it revolves around a story. But when you ask him a question, his answer is going to be something like, "You know what? I'm not sure if I've told you this story yet," and he'll proceed to answer with a story, and the guy cannot stop telling stories. But I remember actually having a conversation with him, and I could tell just by the way he was talking about that, because I asked him point blank and said, why are you not doing something in stories? Why are you not getting to have these type of interactions with people and help them tell their stories, or you'd be able to share stories with them and relate to them in that way? And he kind of looked at me at first and he's like, well, I'm not really sure. But then he said a few other things that kind of indicated to me that he really just trivialized it, because he thought it wasn't that big of a deal. He thought it wasn't something that he was actually very, very good at compared to your average person. And he's a phenomenal storyteller, and he's got a story for everything. And, he can't stop doing it anyway. And the funny thing is you've got stuff just like this too. You just don't know what it is. You're just not sure what it is yet. So Rishi, afterwards, he was kind of blown away. And so is Jody too. Jody's business is doing very, very well now. And I just talked to him the other day, actually. And he said that this is the best, I guess December had been a slow month for him last year. And he said, my December was the second best month of the year. And, is it a coincidence that now he's actually doing stuff in his business that really lines up with his strengths and what he enjoys? I don't know. I would venture to guess not. I don't think it is. And I don't think he doesn't think it is either. But, Rushi went through the process, and, when he initially came into it, told you, he's really very much afraid of making the wrong decision, was really trying to figure out what his passion was, and really, really kind of struggling with that whole entire thing. He said again and again to me, like, hey, my career is incredibly important. I don't want to screw this up, and I don't want to waste time making a move that, I really am not going to be excited about. After we actually helped him learn what his strengths are, it became so apparent to him and so obvious to him what those types of things are that he really does enjoy, that it becomes a no-brainer. And the reality is, most people will never have that. Most people won't understand that. But I want you to understand that. Jody got to understand that. your passions and your strengths and your wants are likely right under your nose. You're probably taking them for granted. These are things that you cannot stop doing, even if you tried. And I borrowed that phrase from a guy named Scott Densmore, who tragically has passed away. Got to meet him a couple of years ago and actually break a world record with him. But he was fond of saying, what can't you not do? And these are truly things that you can't stop doing, even if you tried. So here's what I want to do. I want to give you a sneak peek of an exercise that we do with members of our courses, and also an exercise that actually created this initial exercise for helping people that were coaching clients. That's where it first came out from. And I want to actually go through this exercise right now with you. And I want you to go ahead and play along. So get ready. You can type some of your answers in the chat box here. Get ready to participate. I think you're going to enjoy this, but this is just one way. So I want you to keep that in mind. This is just one way you can go about finding this. And typically what we do is we string lots and lots of these ways together so that you can start to notice the patterns and the themes and make it blatantly obvious, just like Rushi, blatantly obvious, just like Jody, what it is that you're great at and have the potential to be great at. Okay, so we're going to identify some skills and knowledge and passions, and then we're going to objectively rank them. I want you to get your paper ready. On your paper, I want you to write skills, knowledge, and stuff you like. Okay? All right. Okay, so your skills are things like, what are you good at? And, not what are you like best in the world at, but what are you better than the average person at? It doesn't have to be like the greatest thing in the world. I would just want you to list it down. So now that you've got a few of those, and I'll give you a moment here, I'll stall for you. I want you to start writing some of these things down. And again, you can do this afterwards too, because you'll have skills and knowledge and stuff you like and your passions down there as well. Okay. So knowledge are things that you know about more than most other people. And again, you don't have to be an expert. By the way, expert is just a funny definition of, more than most people in that particular subject area. That's all expert means anyways, but you don't have to be an expert. I just want you to list it down. You know more than most other people. Get those things down, whatever those are. So for me, those were things like job search, they were employment law, they were infinity cars. I had an affinity for infinity. No laughs, bummer. Okay, so passions are stuff you like. These are I don't even want you to call it a passion. And if you've read any of my emails in the last week or so, you know that I have a tendency not to want to use that word just because it gets so misunderstood and there's a lot of baggage along with it. But, stuff that you are either passionate about or just stuff you like to do, stuff you enjoy, whatever it is. For me, these were things like music. I absolutely love listening to stories, negotiating, like all those things were stuff that I enjoyed. It's going to be different for you. Everything is going to be different for the next person too. And then here's what I want you to do. I want you to take all these and I want you to rank them by putting them in the appropriate place on each one of these boxes here. So you can just for you at home, you can just like draw a line in the middle of the page and draw a vertical line through that line. So horizontal and a vertical line. And then in the bottom left-hand corner, you're going to put all the stuff that is lower skill and also low enjoyment. So out of your list of stuff that you've come up with, I want you to get all those things that are low skill or lower enjoyment. So those are things at the bottom of the list for enjoyment for you. So there might be strengths that you're kind of pretty good at, but not as good as many other people. And also you really just don't enjoy them that much. So whatever falls into that category, you can go ahead and put it on there. In the top left-hand corner, you're going to have those things that are low skill, like you're a little good at it, but you don't really consider it that high of a skill set for you or high of a knowledge for you, but they're really high enjoyment for you. You get really excited about them, whatever they are, when you get to do them. On the other side, these are things in the bottom right where you're high skill or high knowledge, but really low enjoyment. So these are things that you're pretty good at. Like maybe you've done them for a job for years, but you just really kind of despise them. Or you just, even if you don't despise them, maybe they're just not what you're really excited to do. Okay, in the top right, these are your signature strengths. We mentioned that term earlier, but these are things that you're high skill and really high enjoyment. This is very often where your signature strengths are going to fall. So this helps you rank on what areas you should be focusing on. This is this really simple exercise. And again, this is just one of many exercises that we use. But this one can help you really center in and really understand what areas you should focus spending your time in. Because again, that's our important part here, is how do we spend your time in the stuff that is high enjoyment and you also happen to be really, really good at. Because guess what? When you do that, you just enjoy life a whole bunch more. There's one of the big secrets, right? Like if, let me say that again, because that's incredibly important. If you simply focus your time on spending it doing things that you are high skill or high knowledge or pretty good at and also enjoy, guess what? You're going to enjoy a whole bunch more of your life and work. Is that a surprise? It's not really rocket science. It's the furthest thing from it, in fact, but it's also no less true. And almost everyone misses that really, really, really simple fact. Let me give you an example of how this actually fits together and how this can actually be applied, though, because that all sounds really great. And yes, that's simple logic, but how does this actually work? Let me show you Jared. Meet Jared. Jared's married. He's got 3 kids, 3 cute little kids. He worked in agriculture for a while. He was really involved in his church. He also didn't really like his job that much. He was kind of sick of this. And by the way, if you heard the H2IC podcast recently, we actually showcased Jared's story. He had a really, really cool story on there. But we used this exact same process with him. Exact same. And we went through and said, okay, what are your skills? And he had this big old long list too, because he spent a ton of time with it. The more time you spend, the more you start to realize and you get further diving into it and everything like that. I'm just giving you a couple of them. It really, really enjoyed teaching. Just, absolutely, it was very good at it too. The way that he would interact with people, very, very good at it. He also just found that he could build trust in relationships incredibly quickly compared to the average person. And is he the best in the world at it? No, not by a long shot. But compared to the average person, he's very good at it. Talking to others, that's something else that, he just didn't have a problem. Some people like me, if you would have got me 10 years ago, I couldn't have a conversation with the average person. I would just sort of sit there awkwardly, but he has got no problem talking to each other. So we put that down. Skills, speaking publicly, same thing. Is that something that everybody has? No, but this is something for him. You got to consider what's for you. Knowledge. He's got knowledge in agriculture. He really loves guns and hunting and ammo, and actually even taught. He had a business for a short while where he was teaching about concealed weapons and helping people be able to apply for concealed weapons permits. Also really, really adept at leadership in general, had a high degree of knowledge, spent a lot of time reading books and studying in that area. Even though he hadn't necessarily had, tons of people working underneath him or anything like that. He'd worked in a lot of solo jobs for quite a while. But he'd also, had some leadership roles in his church and other things like that too. He'd had a small business, had a passion for small business, and had read a lot of books around small business too. Had incredible money management skills, much more so than the average person. This is something that was a high degree of knowledge for him too. So we went through and we started ranking these. And what we realized is that there were a bunch of these things that fell in to high skill or high knowledge and high enjoyment too. And as we did that, we realized that teaching in small groups, particularly interesting subjects, because we really started paring it down and really said, okay, what are the context? What's the context of the stuff that you enjoy or have high skill at? and high knowledge in. And it was teaching particularly with small groups and connecting with other people in really certain formats. I wrote down genuinely here, but there was this whole list of stuff for him that he enjoyed connecting in these particular ways, and also was very, very good at. And talking with others is the pretext, but it was a bit deeper than that. Really enjoyed being able to interact with certain types of people and talking with certain types of people. So enjoyed the building relationship piece. You can start to see a little bit of a theme here, partnering with others to get things done. You can even get a sense of his personality here. Now, again, just like everybody else, Jared underestimated a lot of these things. People are probably looking at this and going, like public speaking, like, geez, I hate public speaking. I don't want anything to do with public speaking, but it's something that didn't have a problem for him, right? So again, you have things like this too, that you look at that and go, man, I wish I could do that. But you've got these exact same things. We just took Jared's and plotted them on this chart here. And then what we did is we took all of these things and we moved that into that decision profile that we were talking about earlier, right? Okay. So here's what happened with that. That decision profile became a filter for all of his opportunities. And we didn't even allow him to go after opportunities that didn't match up with that. Instead, we only spent our time focusing on jobs and opportunities that were an amazing fit and very well suited for him, and started saying no to everything else. Now, the funny thing was, now that he had this amazing idea of, and very, very clear idea of what, and he had pages and pages of some of the stuff here detailed out here. So I've just tried to take a couple of these things, but he had a very, very clear idea in all these areas of exactly what he wanted and what him and his wife wanted too, for the rest of his life as well. These other areas of his life is what I mean. And he was able to take all these things. And the funny thing is opportunities that didn't appear to be good anymore, he stopped ignoring. And some of these started popping out of the woodwork, I guess you could say, because that's how it feels sometimes. But really, all it does is allows you to not spend your time going after the stuff that you normally would be going after and saying, well, this is available and this is going to be better than what I have. And instead start going after the stuff that really is a great fit for you and start really building that bridge to making that happen. So his results, he got a new job. Actually, he spent like 6 or 7 weeks. I can't remember exactly, 6 or 7 weeks in the job offer stage, because he found a job that lined up like 75% of the way to what he wanted. And it was close enough to where he went back to the company and was able to say, no, here's really what I'm interested in. Can you help me do this? And they ended up tailoring the job offer, not just in monetary and compensation wise, but in a bunch of other ways too, to really fit what exactly he was looking for. And guess what? Here's the really simple logic. I want to throw it back out here right now. If you don't know what it is you're looking for, you don't get to do that. It's not going to happen. But because Jared had spent the time up front, he was able to take something that could have been an okay opportunity, although he probably wouldn't have found that opportunity in the first place. He probably wouldn't have been looking at it in that way. But he's taking something that was an okay opportunity, turned it into an amazing opportunity, because he was able to then know exactly what he wanted and exactly what his strengths were and what he was going to enjoy doing. Now, okay, so my lawyer says I have to say results not typical here. So there you go. There you have it. But I found that you actually get to pick the odds. You get to pick the odds because when you know what it is that you want and what it is that you're great at and what it is that you should be spending your time in, then it's much, much easier to be able to get there. And again, that's not really rocket science. So we've got this process that helps you get there every single time. It helps you figure out what it is that you want based on what you already know and what's already in you right now every single time. So I would ask you the question of, do you want lottery ticket odds, where they're not very good, and you're kind of bumping around trying to grab random pieces of the puzzle and cram them together? Or do you want odds that work every single time? Which is it going to be? And before we go any further here, I want you to make a decision. I want you to make a declaration. And you guys know, if you've been around HTYC for any length of time, more than like 7 days at all, you probably understand how important decisions are and commitments are to going forward. So I want you to commit. I want you to make a decision that you're not going to take lottery ticket odds any longer. So what's it going to be? Will you continue down the road of wandering around, not even sure where to begin? Or will you move into going through this type of process so you can figure out and get very, very clear on what it is that you do want and then what your strengths are? And we can help you do it. And people go through it in different times. Kirby made her transition in 4 months. And Andrew and Kevin, who we even haven't talked about that much here, I sat down with them and they did it in 1 month. Ken did it in 2 months using the tools and the processes that we teach. Maggie and Jared, they both did it in 4 months. Jody did his in 6 months. We've talked about a bunch of these other people. Justine, she ended up deciding to do marketing and begin a side business and really pursue that road too. And, she was able to do that and make that decision to do that pretty quickly too. Here's the thing though, even if you didn't do it in 1 month or 4 months or, whatever it happens to be, let's say it took you double the time. Wouldn't that still be okay with you? Wouldn't it still be okay if it took you even, even like, I don't know, 6 months or 9 months to figure out what it is that you should be doing and then go and make that transition? I know I would be okay with that. I mean, geez, it took me like 7 years, right? I didn't have somebody to be able to teach me this particular process. So, as a worst case scenario, I would ask yourself that question, because I think that you're here because you want to stop doing the work that you're doing now. I really believe that you finally want to figure out what actually fits you and what gives you fulfillment. Based on all the emails I've gotten over the last week from many of you, I really think that you want to make that career change and you want to spend your time on what is incredibly important to you. And I want to help you do that. I can help you do that. I know that I can help you do that. So if you've benefited at all from what you've learned so far, you will absolutely love this even more. And I want to show you a sneak peek. We've already taken a look at a couple of the exercises that went through that are used in our premium program. It's called Figure Out What Fits. And it helps you decide exactly what you should be doing for work so that you never have to go into work you don't want to again. And I teach you everything that my coaching clients get to learn. And here's the most important part, is you don't just learn it once and it helps you out once. You end up refining these concepts for the entire rest of your life. But if you don't, then you end up getting those better jobs or what's available to you or whatever else, and repeating the same types of mistakes again and again and again. So instead, we teach you to uncover your strengths and what you truly want in your life, and then apply those things to work that you want to be doing. That's what we do. That's really what it is all about. Very, very simple concept, very difficult to do. So that's why we give you a process, a step-by-step process to do exactly that. Because you've tried it before and it hasn't worked. So let me tell you what's included in this to help you with that as you go through the process. We take you through module 1, which is all about moving past fear. It's moving past mental barriers and stopping what's stopping you right now from work that you love. And I guarantee you there are a bunch of things that you're doing right now you don't even realize that you're doing that are stopping you. And we also, in module 2, help you learn what those signature strengths are so that you can play more than you work. And then we teach you to become crystal clear on what you want in your work and your life. And then in module 4, we take you through matchmaking, and we don't, just like we said before, we do not want you to pin yourself down to a job title. There are more important things than that. And certainly much better ways to look at it than that. And we also, after you've made your decision, after you've decided, hey, here's what work actually looks like that allows me to spend my time in the way that I want to, we help you decide what's next. So we take you through that decision-making process, help you get commitment to that, and help you make the decision that is not the decision to end all decisions, but it is the decision that will change everything for you. And then, I told you earlier that I could give you a bunch of information and sit down with you and help you understand how to actually go about building a side business or building a business, or making your job change, and can do that in a pretty short period of time. But just because that can happen, I don't want to leave you. I don't want to leave you hanging, and I don't want to trivialize that at all. So instead, what we do is we give you a bonus where we allow you to go through Get Your Job Now or Side Biz Intro to Side Biz MBA, and we give you that information to allow you to make that transition after you understand, and only after you understand what it is that's going to be good for you. Now, let me tell you about Michelle. Michelle wrote this after she completed the course, and sent it to us in one of the surveys, and she'd gone through. She's awesome. She's been an HTYCer for a while, but she'd gone through the course and thought that she really understood what it was that she was interested in. She had a side business, and also a job at various different times, and was working in physical therapy, and realized that what she was doing was kind of pigeonholing herself and causing her to live her life in a way that she really didn't value. She went through the course and realized that it wasn't working, realized why it wasn't working, and made some massive decisions very, very quickly to change it. And actually right now, she is in New Zealand and Australia. I think she's taken a trip that she'd wanted to take for a very, very long time, as she's in the process of restructuring her life and really creating that life that does fit her, that does work for her. So let me take you in a little bit deeper version of what it is that you'll learn here. This is incredibly important. These are the real things in this first module. These are the real things that are stopping you from doing what it is that you want. It's not your job search. It's not your struggle for a side business idea. It's not those things. That's not what it is. Instead, we know now that work you love is not a job title. It's not a business idea. And, we debunk some of the myths, like work you love has to pay less. That's absolutely not true. In fact, I find the exact opposite, that people that are very, very clear on what it is that they want, they get what they want. And part of that is monetary and financial too. We also talk about how just one passion isn't necessarily what you have to do. People have this myth in their head that you just do one passion and it's the passion that's going to end all passions for the rest of your life. And we talk about how that is not it. And in addition to that, when you learn to think bigger, you will be able to move past what's actually stopping you from getting opportunities. You'll learn to recognize what you really do have control over in any given situation, even when you think you don't. That's what we're all about, taking control where you don't think you have control. And I want you to stop feeling overwhelmed. This is going to help you do exactly that. It's going to help you understand where you're going to begin, but we have to undo those things, those bad habits, those thought processes, those lenses at which you're looking at it through. We have to undo those things first before we can really help you get clear on your signature strengths, because you're going to be surprised about what your signature strengths are. But it's not because they're brand new to you, but instead, like we talked about, it's because those things are actually right under your nose and you can't stop doing them anyway. And you just don't realize it. And when you learn your signature strengths, you're going to find it easier to get paid more because you're going to have this ridiculously unfair advantage. And then when you get paid more and when you're working in your signature strengths, you're going to find that you actually enjoy what you get to do. And that's not really rocket science again. But then when you enjoy what you get to do and you're really good at it, that's actually going to in turn increase your confidence, which then is in turn going to allow you to get paid more, which then in turn is going to allow you to, it's going to allow you to do a whole bunch of stuff that just isn't even possible for you right now. It's funny how that cycle starts playing in a really, really, really positive way. And those things build on each other again and again and again, like a foundation and like, stair steps. So I also want you to become incredibly crystal clear on what you want in your work and life. And, think about it. If I use this example all the time, but if you're planning a road trip and you don't know you're going to drive to Florida, how easy is it going to be to get to Florida? You're going to pop in the car and you're just going to end up someplace else, but it's not going to be Florida. So if you know that you're going to arrive at 621 Dover Street in Tallahassee, Florida, then guess what? It becomes very easy to plan a route to get there. And it's very, very similar when you are crystal clear on what you want in both your life and work. You're going to find that you attract a whole bunch more of those exact type opportunities because you're going to communicate with people in a completely different way. That sounds kind of funny, but that's exactly what happens. You're able to then ask for what you want and be very, very clear about that. You will then be able to start doing it immediately. Because this is something that I get all the time. I get emails that say things like, if I only knew what it is that I wanted and what was going to be good for me and what my passion was and everything else, then I could go start doing it immediately. I know that I could do it. And you can, you're right. But you're focused on the wrong areas. You're focused on this obscure passion instead of what you do best, and you're focused on somebody else's version of what it is that you want instead of your own. So we want you to learn what you really actually want, not what you think you want, but what you really actually want, what is really incredibly important to you. And then I want you to go spend your time being able to expose yourself to that. Okay. Now, we've talked a lot about how it's not a job title, it's not a business title. We want to matchmake your end destination and give you this ability to say no to good opportunities. And then that's going to open the doors. Just by doing that, that is going to open the doors to being able to say yes to other opportunities. And in addition to that, you're going to be able to learn exactly where to start looking for your work using your decision profile, because that's going to actually help you. The process that we use is going to help you do that exact thing. You'll be able to take advantage of these opportunities that you haven't realized are there, these hidden opportunities that have happened. Very, very first time that even before I had this business, as soon as I declared that this is what I wanted, all of a sudden opportunities were right in front of me. Within literally 48 hours, I got an email that I probably would have ignored, asking for speakers on career type services. I responded to the email, and guess what? I was a couple of months later, was in Seattle speaking in front of a group of about 60, I think it was, about careers. Miraculous, right? Guess what? If I hadn't made that decision, if I hadn't gone through this process, I totally would have missed out on that sort of thing because I would have ignored it, wouldn't have paid attention to it in a completely different way. And that's how some of this stuff works. Now, on the more practical side, if you're looking at the other side of it, we also teach you, once you know what you want to, we give you these bonuses for Get Your Job Now and our course Intro to Side Biz MBA. That way you're not wasting your time. You're going about the job search process in the most efficient way possible. And then if your goal is to build a business, then we help you understand what types of business ideas actually fit you, fit your strengths, and know whether or not your idea is going to succeed or not before you ever get it off the ground too. So, I don't want you continuing to send off resumes to the endless black hole. I first want you to identify what it is that you should be doing. And then I want you to, after you have that knowledge, go get there in the most efficient way possible. So we don't leave you hanging on that side too. We want you to go and make it happen. That's why we include these bonuses. I think you're going to love them too. When you complete, figure out what fits, and the bonuses, and by the way, we've got a bunch more bonuses for you too, I'll tell you about, then you're going to have a decision profile so that you can then focus on only those jobs or only those business ideas that are going to be great for you. You're also going to have everything that you need to be able to find what you want with your job or to be able to start business. And not just now, But this is incredibly important. It's for your entire rest of your life. Most people never learn this stuff. They never learn it. They never take the time to learn it. It's not taught in schools. It's not taught anyplace else. You will know what makes you happy. You get to join the very, very small percentage, 13% of people, and that's just from the Gallup poll, that truly enjoy the work that actually earns them money. It's a very, very small percentage of people. And then, that's really why you're here, right? Quite frankly, there's some other ways that you could do it too if you wanted. You could do what I did and spend 7 years bumping around and trying to figure it out for yourself, reading every book you possibly can and screwing it up and making big mistakes and all kinds of stuff like that. I get emails all the time about people wanting to go to graduate school, and they're like, well, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm considering graduate school. So that's a pretty expensive, I'm not sure what else to do. So I would say, you're gonna get some good skill sets. You're probably not still going to understand exactly what it is that you want, but you'll have a great education. You could go do that. And that's, again, something people are considering when they don't know what else to do. You're going to pay on average about $41,000 for it is the last average that I saw. You could get a coach. A good coach is typically going to cost a few $100s an hour for somebody who's worth their salt. We actually charge $400 an hour right now. And every time we fill up, then we end up raising the price. When our demand exceeds what our supply is, that's when we coach people who are starting businesses to raise their prices. So that's what we do too. Also on top of that, then I want to show you a couple other things that you get. So we've got actually 2 different packages here. Let me show you exactly how these work. You can get the entire Figure Out What Fits system, and you get the 100% no risk guarantee. We take all the risk. We take every bit of the risk. And by the way, this course is structured so it's self-paced. You can go through it any way that you want from the comfort of your own home, be able to go through it. It is designed to be a 4-week long course, but if it takes you 8 weeks, then it's structured so that you can do it as you see fit. You can then get your bonus, Get Your Job Now. You get your bonus Intro to Side Biz MBA. We give you lifetime upgrades. So we've made a bunch of improvements in the course, and people that are in there and have been in there have gotten it for free. We also give you lifetime access. So once you pay for it, it's yours, and you get to do that any way that you want. Okay, so that's it for the full system. We also have available, if you would like, we also have that plus Figure Out What Fits coaching package that goes along with it. We only have 20 of these available. There's only 20 spots because we want to make sure that we can help these people in the way that they need help. My team helps with that. So you get, in addition to everything from the Figure Out What Fits system, absolutely everything. You also get access to our private Facebook group, and then you get email access to our coaches. In addition to that, our coaches are in the Facebook group. Tracy is phenomenal about emailing back and everything along those lines too. If you've got questions, concerns, etc., and can help you out with that. She's one of our coaches and does a really phenomenal job. She's got a lot of experience that works for this sort of thing. Plus, when you bump up against something that you struggle with working through, then you can get Skype call access to coaches like Tracy, and when you need it on an as needed basis. And we include that to help you work through those things. We're going to ask that you work through the course. And if you need that, any of those types of access, they're there available for you when you need it, which is really, really, really cool. But only 20 of those are available. In addition to that, tonight only, when you purchase Figure Out What Fits or Figure Out What Fits the Plus coaching package, then you get these bonuses. We give you a webinar that I was contracted and paid to do by Washington State University, and we give you that talk. We give you the recording of that talk. Really, really good one. Had amazing feedback on it, just amazing feedback. In fact, they contracted with me to do 3 more talks because they got such a great response on it. And it was how to be less busy, getting the most important things done without giving up your life. That's something that many of the folks that are on here guessing would be real interested in. Also, we give you an invite to a members only online Q&A webinar where we talk specifically about the stuff that you want to talk about. And we, you get your questions in advance, and we can talk through it. We can even bring you up if you wanted, bring you up on the line to work through some of that stuff and talk through, again, the things that you're struggling with. So very, very cool. That is for members only that purchase tonight. I also want to talk about what everybody has a question. Well, what if I don't like it? What if it's not perfectly for me or whatever else? And we want to take out all the risk. And this is something that, I told you I can help with. I told you that I was really interested in being able to help you with. So we just make it incredibly simple. We try and take out all the risk, and we take all the risk, and we just say, hey, try it for 60 days. And if you don't like it, you hate the fonts we use, you get tired of my voice, whatever it happens to be, then we just return it at any time. And you know what? So 60 days, the whole course is 4 weeks long plus the bonuses, and you can just go through the entire thing if you want. And if you're not incredibly happy with it, then I don't want your money. We've had very, 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 very few returns over the entire time period that we've done this, even since we've been testing it, I guess well over a year ago at this point. And we've had really very good results and response overall too. So it's not much of a risk for me either, truly, because I know what you're going to get out of it. And I understand that we just don't have bunches of returns at all. So that's why we do the 100% no risk guarantee, to take that off of your hands. And if you wanted to, you weren't happy with it, then again, I don't want your money, and you just send me an email letting me know that, and we credit your money back. That's it. But I want you to understand what it is that you're getting here. So you can go those other options, and instead of doing coaching, instead of $400 an hour or anything like that, you can go through this program. And these are very, very, very reasonably priced. But I want you to understand that they're only very reasonably priced for a very short period of time too. And we did that because we wanted to be able to try and fill these 20 spots up very quickly. We plan on doing that. And that way we can support you in doing so. The other one, Figure Out What Fits, the course and the full system, you can purchase that right now at that price for $147 right now through Thursday. Then the price is going to go up. Same thing with Figure Out What Fits. If we have any left at that point, the price will go up. So you get all of these things for either $147 or $397. And I want you to consider that we're throwing in extra bonuses when you purchase right now. So to be able to get that, to be able to check that out, and I want you to go over there right now to happentoyourcareer.com/fit. That's where you can go, or click the link on the right-hand side of the screen. And I also want to spend a little bit of time answering questions now. So now's the time where you can ask questions like, how does the refund work? How does the course work? Is it, how's the self-paced work? Whatever it happens to be. What if I have a problem, et cetera, et cetera. Or if you've got any other questions too, I'd be happy and thrilled to pieces to answer those right about now. Okay.